Hi, everybody. I thought today we would talk about the different aspects of what I do in what I call woo woo world. So, what I am is I am a shamanic practitioner, which means that I do healings on people based on shamanic techniques that I've learned. And that healing might be on issues in their soul, their emotions, their thoughts, and which sometimes results in physical body ailments. Now, what can you expect from a shamanic healing? A lot of people are able to heal long-standing wounds, whether they are conscious or unconscious, a lot of wounds from their childhood or maybe even a previous life. Sometimes we inherit wounds. We don't actually experience them in our life, but we feel the effects of them from our ancestors. And that seems very odd that we would feel the effects of something that happened to our ancestors. But take, for example, the Holocaust, which is, that's always a go-to thing for woundings because there was a great deal of people that were wounded during that time period. And most of them have now passed on, I imagine, but their children are still here, their grandchildren, their ancestors. And so if maybe one of their grandchildren or even great grandchildren, it usually doesn't go, many generations, but it can, especially if the children and the grandchildren then experience the effects of those wounds. So some of the wounds might be limiting beliefs based on their ethnicity, their culture, that they might be tend to hide who they are, or they might have the tendency to not be comfortable with other groups of people, to be territorial, or there's so many different woundings that an individual could experience when faced with that trauma. And so one of the things that I do is maybe go back into the ancestry and see, what did mama experience? What did grandma experience? What did grandpa experience? And it might not even be something as evident as the Holocaust. It could be that grandmother suffered from depression, or grandpa was a workaholic, and then that would pass on. Or perhaps even though grandma was married and had many children, maybe she never felt loved. And so then that would pass down to the mom, to the daughter, usually passes down the same gender, but not always. Sometimes we inherit things from the other gender. And so if you are experiencing problems in your love life and you might have a parent who never felt loved, or a grandparent, and despite what their circumstances was, they may have been very much in a relationship and with children and all those things, but never felt loved. And so we can pick up on those kind of things in a shamanic healing. And that's why it's very important when I do a shamanic healing to also access my intuition and my natural ability to connect with spirit. And so I can't do this by myself. Obviously, I use my guides, I use my spirit helpers, my power animals, and go into somebody's soul and really see what's in there. So that's one of the aspects of what I do. One of the other things I do is I am a psychic medium. Now, we could separate those two. Psychic and medium are often kind of lumped together, and I lump them together just because on a marketing standpoint, that's what people tend to do. But they're really two different things. So a psychic is someone who can access information about your life, say your love life, your career life, and I do that through divination, through cards. I can do it through cards. I can do it through a pendulum. I can do it through just the guides telling me stuff, through numerology. And so when I started out doing that, I basically just channeled the angels, and I still do that. I still channel angels, and they come through and they tell me stuff. And I was doing very well at that for a while, and then people started coming and saying, well, I want to talk to my dead son on the other side. And so that was when I first started kind of veering in that direction. And I also had some visitors come to the house that didn't have physical bodies. And so that wasn't something I started out doing, talking to dead people, but I kind of added it in because it started happening to me. Once I started opening up the doors and talking to the angels and guides, then the dead people started coming too. And I found that I had a natural ability to speak to the dead. I had some of my clients say, well, nobody's been able to get mom except for you. And so I started adding that in. That is the mediumship part of psychic medium. And so in mediumship, obviously, we're talking to dead people. We're talking to your loved ones on the other side, maybe people that you knew, maybe people you don't know. Well, the other day I was seeing a client and Carl Jung came through, believe it or not. And it turns out that she is a big fan of Carl Jung. So you never know who's going to come through. I can't promise somebody's going to come through. I can't say I'll definitely be able to connect with your mom or your dad or your grandma, but I open the door and let the people come through that want to communicate with you. Sometimes animals come through. Now, I don't specialize in that because it doesn't happen on a regular basis, but every now and then the animals will come through and communicate with me. It's not my specialty, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I do animal communication on occasion. What else do I do? So I mentioned that I do divination cards, tarot. So that's kind of in with the whole psychic thing. Accessing information based on cards of the tarot. I also can do Lenormand cards, which is a different divination system. I use those sometimes. I use different oracle cards. Sometimes I use shamanic divination techniques, although I use them less often just because I tend to like to stick to one thing and practice at it and get really good at it. What else do? I do Reiki. I'm a Reiki master teacher. I teach classes on Reiki. Reiki is a healing modality that originated in Japan. There's a lot of different sects of Reiki nowadays. I think it started out maybe with one sect, with the first Master Usui being the first one to receive the Reiki attunements, and now it's kind of morphed into this whole big thing. There's Karuna Reiki, there's Usui Reiki, there's Holy Fire Reiki, there's all these different kinds of Reiki. Basically, what Reiki is, though, is it's transmitting healing energy to people, to their physical body, to their emotional body, to their spiritual body, to their mental body, through the energy that is transmitted on a specific frequency, the Reiki frequency. And so when I do a healing, usually I'll incorporate the Reiki symbols. I'll incorporate things that I've learned in the area of Reiki in my healings. I also use what I learned is called the Radiance healing light technique that I learned from Kristen McCormick. You can find out more about that technique on her website, which is KristenMcCormick.com. She's actually teaching a class now, so you can learn about that. That's a really wonderful healing technique that I incorporate into the other stuff that I do. So that's just a few things that I offer, a few services that I offer. If you want to know more about them, feel free to contact me on my website, whispersofjoy.net. You can comment here and I'll give you more information. But basically, there's a lot of ways that we can access information and healing from the spirit world. Obviously, none of these things take the place of medical professional help. I never say, stop going to your doctor. I'm never going to say divorce your husband or, anything like that. I'm never going to say you have a curse on you and you have to pay me a huge price to get it off of you. I'm never going to do that. So, common sense. I'm a common sense psychic. So use your common sense and make proper decisions based on logic. But if you want to have a little more information, you might want to contact me for a reading or a healing. And I can do that over the phone, in person, or we can do through Google Meet is what I use. So nice to chat with you today. I hope I cleared up some of your questions about what are the different things that I do and what are those terms. And I hope to connect with you soon. Thanks. Bye.